When history challenges everything that science believes to be true, scientists are often left puzzled, asking themselves if the reality they have trusted is perhaps incomplete. This is exactly what has happened with the Inca stone walls. These massive structures, built around 500 years ago, still stand strong today, without even a trace of mortar or cement holding them together. Instead, they are formed from giant granite blocks cut and shaped with what appear to be simple stone tools, yet they are locked together so tightly that not even a piece of paper can slip between them. The accuracy of this construction, combined with the mystery of how it was achieved, has left experts wondering who the Inca people really were and whether we have underestimated the depth of their knowledge and skills. The mystery deepened when a group of engineers from MIT studied the way the Inca walls carried weight and stress. Using modern structural analysis, they discovered that the unusual, puzzle-like arrangement of the stones was not just decorative or artistic. It was an intentional engineering design. The way the stones interlocked allowed the walls to spread out the stress of earthquakes and ground movement far more effectively than the rectangular designs that came much later in history. In simple terms, the Incas had discovered earthquake-resistant architecture long before the modern world began to develop these concepts in the 20th century. What we only formally understood in the 1970s, they were already practicing centuries earlier. But what really shocked researchers came after 3D scanning was used on the walls. When they mapped out the precise contours of the stones, they found a level of accuracy that should have been impossible without modern machines. The surfaces of these blocks matched so perfectly that the difference was sometimes only fractions of a millimeter across huge areas of stone. To give perspective, even with today's precision machining, it is very difficult to reach that level of accuracy on objects of such enormous size. The fits were so exact that in theory, the daily heating and cooling of the stone should have caused expansion problems. Yet these walls have survived earthquakes, storms, and centuries of weathering without any sign of failure. Advanced imaging revealed something even more astonishing. The stones were not randomly hacked into shape. They showed clear signs of careful chiseling and polishing, proving that the process was step-by-step and deliberate. Each curve and angle was shaped purposefully until the fit was absolutely perfect. This was not chance. It was mastery. And when artificial intelligence was used to analyze the hidden patterns in the walls, the discoveries grew even stranger. The geometric relationships between the stones were not random. They followed mathematical principles that would not be formally described until the field of crystallography was developed hundreds of years later. Somehow, the Incas were applying advanced mathematical concepts without ever having the formal language or symbols to explain them. Computer modeling revealed something else that shook archaeologists. For years, experts believed these walls were built stone by stone, through endless trial and error. But digital simulations showed that entire sections of the walls were planned and executed as unified systems, almost like modern 3D design projects. This suggested a type of advanced planning and visualization that we usually associate with computer-aided design today. The logical question that follows is whether the Incas had instruments or devices for measuring and calculating that simply have not been found yet. Without precise tools, it seems impossible to achieve the kind of accuracy these walls display. What troubled researchers even more was how suddenly this knowledge appeared. Early Inca buildings showed decent, conventional craftsmanship, but then almost overnight their stonework reached a level of precision that rivals or even surpasses what modern technology can achieve. There was no slow progress, no obvious learning curve. It looked as though some new knowledge or method appeared out of nowhere. This sudden leap in skill has led some to wonder if there was a hidden source of knowledge, or perhaps something far beyond what we usually credit to ancient human ingenuity. Another fascinating discovery is that Inca architecture was not only about engineering, it was also about astronomy. Those famous trapezoidal windows and doors, which are a trademark of Inca structures, were not just for looks. Their angled proportions were mathematically designed to channel seismic stress away from openings, preventing collapse during earthquakes. This level of sophistication did not appear in modern engineering until the 1960s, yet the Incas were applying it centuries earlier. What is even more surprising is the consistency. From huge fortress walls to the most ordinary homes, the same earthquake-resistant principles are visible everywhere across their empire. That level of uniformity suggests a formal system of teaching and training, with standardized construction methods spread across thousands of miles. But the mystery goes beyond earthquakes and into the skies. Many Inca structures line up with celestial events in ways that are too accurate to be coincidence. For example, at Machu Picchu, in the Temple of the Sun, a window frames the sunrise of the winter solstice with exact precision. On that morning, the first beam of sunlight shines through the window and directly illuminates a carved stone inside the temple. This alignment is so perfect that it has remained accurate for over 5 centuries, despite changes in the Earth's tilt and atmosphere. To achieve this, the Incas would have needed not only a deep understanding of the movement of the sun but also precise instruments to measure and calculate its position over long periods of time. This was advanced astronomy combined with advanced architecture, centuries before we believe such methods existed. Even more mysterious, some alignments match star positions from thousands of years earlier, long before the Inca civilization existed. Because of the slow wobble of the Earth's axis, a process known as precession, the stars gradually change position over time. Ancient star maps eventually become outdated unless corrected with complex formulas. And yet Inca structures reflect corrections that would only be possible if the builders had access to astronomical knowledge stretching back thousands of years. How could they have had this information? Was it passed down from a much older culture, or did they find some other way to record it? The Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu adds to the mystery. At first glance, it looks like a simple carved rock, but it actually functions as a sundial, calendar, and astronomical device all at once. Its geometry encodes methods of calculation that are centuries ahead of their time, solving problems in 3-dimensional geometry without the tools we consider necessary. Some of its alignments even point to celestial objects that were not visible to the naked eye and can only be seen with telescopes. How did they know these objects existed? Even the carvings that appear decorative often turn out to be accurate star maps, some of them showing constellations as they appeared from Earth thousands of years ago. More recently, satellite surveys have revealed that the layout of Inca cities, roads, and sacred sites was not random at all. Together, they form what looks like a giant astronomical calendar stretching across hundreds of miles. This implies that the Incas were working with astronomical knowledge and technical ability that should have been impossible in a pre-telescopic era. And then there is the problem of moving the massive stones themselves. Some blocks weigh over 200 tons, and yet they were transported across rugged mountains without wheels, iron tools, or modern machinery. AI-assisted analysis has confirmed that stones of this size were moved over distances of more than 20 meters, sometimes up steep mountain slopes of 30 degrees or more. The logistics are baffling. To lift one of these stones would require thousands of workers, but there is no evidence of camps, roads, or infrastructure that could have supported such efforts. Some of the quarries were located more than 20 miles away, separated by valleys and rivers that seem impossible to cross with such weight. Yet the stones not only arrived but were delivered without a single crack, already carved to perfection before transport. When researchers fed 3D scans of the sites into advanced AI models, the results were staggering. The analysis revealed construction principles that modern engineers are only beginning to experiment with, such as metamaterial engineering, where the joints between stones are designed to cancel out seismic vibrations. In other words, the walls were built to resist earthquakes not just structurally but on a vibrational level, something that belongs to the cutting edge of modern physics. Even more shocking, AI detected hidden geometric patterns across the Inca road and city system that suggest the entire network functioned almost like a continent-sized computer, processing astronomical and seismic data. To fully model this, researchers now require quantum computing, suggesting that the Incas may have been applying concepts similar to those in quantum field theory centuries before such ideas were defined. All of this forces us to rethink what we know about ancient civilizations. Were the Incas simply masters of observation, trial, and error? Did they inherit knowledge from a lost civilization? Or were they working with principles we still do not fully understand? The truth remains hidden in stone, but one thing is certain: the Incas achieved feats of engineering, mathematics, and astronomy that remain astonishing to this day. Their legacy challenges the limits of human history and reminds us that perhaps the past holds secrets far greater than we ever imagined. When history challenges everything that science believes, scientists are often left in shock, confused, and full of questions about what they really know. That is exactly what has happened with the mysterious Inca stone walls. These walls have stood for over 500 years without using cement, mortar, or any binding material. They are made only of giant granite blocks shaped with simple stone tools. Yet they are fitted so perfectly that even the thinnest blade cannot slip between them. This kind of accuracy feels almost impossible, and it has left experts questioning who the Inca people really were and how they achieved something so advanced. The first breakthrough in understanding came when engineers from MIT studied how these walls handled weight and pressure. Using modern analysis, they discovered that the unusual puzzle-like shapes of the stones were not random decoration. They were carefully chosen designs that allowed the structures to withstand earthquakes. Instead of using simple rectangular blocks like most civilizations, the Incas locked their stones in complex interlocking patterns. This allowed stress to spread evenly during quakes, preventing collapse. What is shocking is that the Incas were building earthquake-resistant architecture centuries before modern engineers officially discovered the same principles in the 1970s. When researchers used 3D scanning technology to study the stones more closely, they found something even more unbelievable. The contact points between the massive blocks were not just close, they were almost perfect, with tolerances so precise they measured in fractions of a millimeter across surfaces that stretched meters wide. Even with today's advanced machines, it is extremely difficult to cut and fit such large stones with that kind of precision. Scientists were stunned, because in theory, stones fitted so tightly should have expanded or cracked under daily temperature changes. And yet, after centuries of exposure to sun, rain, earthquakes, and countless climate cycles, the walls remain flawless. Advanced imaging revealed more secrets. The stones did not look roughly smashed into shape. Instead, they showed fine chisel marks, carefully polished surfaces, and signs of deliberate refinement. Every curve and every angle seemed purposeful, as if the builders followed a detailed plan until each block was a perfect fit. This was not trial and error, it was the work of master builders who knew exactly what they were doing. When artificial intelligence was used to analyze these structures further, the results shocked researchers again. The shapes and patterns in the walls followed mathematical principles that were not formally discovered until centuries later, during the rise of crystallography and modern geometry. Somehow, the Incas were using advanced mathematical concepts long before science even had names for them. Computer models even suggested that the walls were not built stone by stone through endless testing. Instead, they appeared to be designed and planned as complete systems, almost like modern computer-aided design. This raised unsettling questions. Did the Incas have tools, measuring instruments, or devices for calculation that have simply been lost to history? Without accurate instruments, such precision feels impossible, and yet the evidence sits in stone for everyone to see. The biggest mystery is how suddenly this knowledge appeared. Early Inca structures showed ordinary craftsmanship, nothing extraordinary. But almost overnight, their stonework leapt to a level of perfection that rivals and sometimes surpasses modern construction. There is no sign of gradual learning or slow improvement, just a sudden jump, as if some new knowledge arrived from an unknown source. This fuels speculation about whether the Incas received knowledge beyond their own world, or whether they were simply extraordinary geniuses in working with stone. But the story does not stop with engineering. The Incas also seemed to be incredible astronomers. Their trapezoid-shaped doorways and windows, found throughout their empire, were not just artistic choices. The angled shapes were optimized to spread earthquake stress away from weak points like openings, preventing collapse. This kind of design is now known in earthquake engineering but only began to be studied seriously in the 1960s. Yet the Incas were already applying it half a millennium earlier. Their astronomical skills are even more puzzling. Many Inca sites align with celestial events so precisely that it is difficult to believe they were made without advanced instruments. At Machu Picchu, the Temple of the Sun is aligned so perfectly with the winter solstice sunrise that the first ray of sunlight passes directly through a window and lights up a carved stone inside. This alignment is accurate to millimeters and has remained correct for over 5 centuries, despite changes in Earth's tilt and atmosphere. For the Incas to achieve this, they would have needed detailed knowledge of celestial movements, precise instruments to measure angles, and advanced calculation methods. Even stranger, studies reveal that some Inca structures align not just with the skies of their own time but with star positions from thousands of years earlier, even as far back as 10,000 BCE. Because of the Earth's slow wobble, known as precession, star positions shift gradually over centuries. To know ancient star positions accurately requires complex corrections, yet somehow Inca structures reflect those corrections perfectly. This suggests they had access to astronomical data stretching back thousands of years, long before their civilization existed. The famous Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu shows just how advanced their knowledge was. At first it looks like a carved rock, but in reality, it works as a calendar, sundial, and astronomical computer. Its surfaces track the sun across the year and mark the positions of key stars and constellations. Modern analysis shows that it encodes three-dimensional geometry methods that science claims were only invented much later. Even more mysterious, some of their alignments point to celestial objects not visible to the naked eye, like certain nebulae and star clusters that require telescopes. How could they have known these existed? Decoration in their architecture also holds secrets. Carvings once thought to be simple designs turn out to be star maps, accurately showing constellations and sky views only visible from specific places on Earth during limited time periods. Recent satellite surveys of Inca sites revealed that the layout of cities, roads, and temples forms a massive astronomical calendar spread across hundreds of miles. Their entire empire seemed to be a dialogue with the cosmos, built on knowledge that should not have been possible in their time. The mystery deepens further when we look at how they moved their giant stones. Some blocks weigh up to 200 tons, and in sites like Sacsayhuaman, some approach 1,000 tons. These stones were often quarried miles away, across rivers, valleys, and steep mountain ridges. Moving them without wheels, pulleys, or modern machinery seems impossible. Physics suggests it would take thousands of workers pulling in perfect unison, yet there is no evidence of camps or infrastructure to support such massive labor forces. Many stones were shaped precisely before transport, meaning they had to be moved without damage. Some paths they would have traveled have slopes of over 45 degrees, too steep even for today's heavy equipment. AI analysis provided another shocking discovery. When the entire Inca system was mapped, researchers found hidden geometric relationships that connected cities, roads, and sacred sites in ways that looked like a massive information network. Some even believe it may have been used to process astronomical data or predict earthquakes. Modeling this system requires quantum computing, suggesting the Incas designed something centuries ahead of its time. Even the joints between their stones appear to have been engineered like modern metamaterials, structures designed to manipulate energy waves. During earthquakes, these joints might have acted to cancel out destructive vibrations, something cutting-edge science is only now exploring. If true, this would mean the Incas were using principles of physics that modern science is still struggling to fully master. Walk through Machu Picchu today, and you can still see the perfection of their work. Try sliding a piece of paper or even a credit card between the stones, and you will fail. These are not small stones, they are massive, weighing many tons, yet each fits into place like part of a 3D puzzle. The Spanish conquistadors, when they first saw the walls in the 1500s, were so astonished that they thought the Incas must have softened the stones like clay and molded them into shape. Some even wrote that the Incas had supernatural powers. Modern science rejects that idea, as rocks cannot be softened without extreme heat, something the Incas could not generate. But the mystery remains: how did they carve, shape, and transport such massive blocks so perfectly using only bronze chisels, stone hammers, and wooden wedges? The truth is, the Inca stone walls remain one of history's greatest puzzles. Every new discovery, whether through traditional archaeology or modern AI, only makes the mystery deeper. Their walls were more than construction, they were engineering marvels, astronomical instruments, and perhaps even a form of knowledge system hidden in stone. They defy our understanding of what was possible centuries ago. Whether it was genius craftsmanship, forgotten technology, or something even stranger, the Inca legacy forces us to rethink what ancient humans were capable of achieving.